Hi, I'm Staff Sergeant Haggart with Battalion Mortars 2327. Today's class will be the emergency hip shoot. Emergency hip shoots are occupations that result when a call for fire is received while the platoon is making a tactical movement. It requires the mortar platoon or the section to occupy the first available location with only map or imagery reconnaissance. All leaders must be on the lookout for potential fire locations, and while they're looking for these potential fire locations, the biggest things they're looking for are terrain, cover, avenues of approach. And this is the reason for this is because these fire missions are completely unplanned. So it's not your normal call for fire where the guns are already set up, everything's staged, and FTC just processes a mission and the guys get on the guns. This is where we are in a tactical movement. So with the 120s, we're driving and we receive a call for fire, and immediately the reason we need to be looking for potential firing locations is because whoever's calling for these rounds needs them as fast as possible. So platoon leader is going to be immediately pulling out a map or whatever he has available to be looking either up the road or behind us, looking for an MFP, and then the section sergeant's going to be looking, basically almost doing as you would for like an IED, checking 5s, 25s out to 200 meters of where we could possibly get these trucks into the direction of fire. FTC is immediately running the fire mission, so that way they can push out the direction of fire, and we can best position ourselves so we can use all assets available. So unit leader and FTC will determine the direction of fire. So all they're doing is processing the mission, and they're going to push that direction of fire to the section sergeant and the platoon leader. Platoon leader is going to call the halt, and section sergeant will dismount, get the vehicle staged where he can best employ the 81s or the 120s with the direction of fire. Squad leaders will position their trailers and trucks in accordance to the section sergeant's guidance. And the squad leader will position himself behind his mortar with an M2 compass aimed at the direction of fire. FTC will push out a fire command, and the guns will get laid on data. The only difference with this fire command is instead of it where it says deflection, it will be an azimuth. And all that azimuth is the direction of fire from where the guns are in place to the target. After the guns are laid, squadlers will respond with gun up. If it's an adjust fire, 2-gun will fire the first round, and all other squads will just be following on data. Or if it's a fire for effect, all squads available to shoot will shoot the fire for effect. After the first round fired by 2-gun or the fire for effect, squad leaders will in place a 0-7 pull and stand by for corrections or end of mission. The corrections with the 0-7 pull, the reason for the 0-7 pull is after that first initial round, the fire command will go back to our normal standard, which will be deflection instead of azimuth, because now we have a reference point in the 0-7 pull. Hip shoots are intended to be a method of engagement while on the move with the intention to continue movement after the mission. It may be necessary to occupy the hip shoot MFP for an extended period of time. If this is the case, the gun line will readjust their gun locations into a standard gun line. So going into this, we're trying to get rounds downrange as fast as possible. If battalion comes over the net and says they need us to stand fast for a bit, we're going to readjust our guns so that way we can have a better sheath for our targets. Section will do a sight to sight with 2-gun since they're the base gun, and the section will continue to be laid on 2-guns hit data because the rounds fired on the hip shoot, azimuth, or deflection are the basis for correction. If we're going to be there for an extended period of time, and I'll go on this further in the PowerPoint, we can also in place the M2 aiming circle. Just like all of our firing missions or anytime we employ our mortars, these are the following mounting and safety requirements. I'll let you read through some of these. Basically, this is regardless of the mission, regardless of the occupation. These are the same step-by-step processes that squad leaders ensure that their gun is ready to safely shoot any rounds. Going back into the 0-7 pull. So after we fire that first round, the squad leaders know to emplace the 0-7 pull. For us, 0-7 is our SOP just because, one, it's right off to the rear of the gun. It doesn't have to be in place very far. And then if we get called to, basically we get put in a standby mode to receive follow-on missions, we can emplace the 28 or 32 pulls out to 50 and 100 meters. So with hip shoots, we only place the one aiming post because it's an emergency mission. So only one aiming post is required to execute the mission. This is all due to getting rounds down range as fast as possible. It'll be approximately 25 meters away from the gun. And then, like I said, if battalion comes down and says we will stay at this position, we'll readjust our gun line, try fitting it in best as possible based on our other occupations with the same priorities of work to improve the MFP. And this includes placing our normal 50 and 100 meter pulls out and laying the guns in with the aiming circle. Here's an illustration of a dismounted movement for a hip shoot. Our platoon is color coordinated by squad, with yellow being 1 gun, gray being headquarters, red 2 gun, pink FDC, blue 3 gun, and green 4 gun. They are moving in a staggered column, and what it shows you is in the middle of movement, getting a call for fire, knowing the direction of fire that gets pushed out from FDC, which is in the top right of the illustration. So the direction of fire in this case is directly north, and the squad's having to take the section sergeant's guidance and getting into the best mortar position available to be able to fire all 4 guns and still stay within a parallel sheath. Next, what we have here is a video from Mortar going into our hip shoots. So with it being Mortar, it is a little staged. FDC is going to be pushing out data. You'll see him off to the right here shortly. But he'll give the fire command of fire mission, and the squad leaders and section sergeant are going to position the guns to fire the rounds. So here's the call for fire, pushes out fire mission. Squad leaders immediately emplace their guns with the direction of fire established. So with here we had a short, small safety box or safety fan that we could shoot into. So it's a little bit more staged than any of your other training where you can use 360 degrees to pull up any direction of fire. Immediately they're pushing out the fire command. Squad leaders have put their tubes in the direction of fire based on the azimuth that FDC and the second sergeant has given them. And you can see the members of the squad getting the guns laid on the data. In front of you is 2 gun squad leader just confirming his azimuth of the gun, because at this point in time they don't have a deflection to run off of. There's no poles for any type of reference point. It's just the M2 compass. Rucks still remain nice and organized. That way the ammo bearer knows where he can pull rounds from, which rounds he has taken out of rucks, and so that way he can still remain accountability for those rounds and push that up to the squad leader. Squad leader is pushing back readback data just as a safety check for our platoon and our SOPs. And first round. Sight goes back on. Squad leader is going to move his ruck. And then with the video cut short, they're getting ready to place their 07 pull for any follow-on missions or any adjustments to their fire mission. Going into mounted. So right here they receive a call for fire. They receive the call for fire. All members of the squad know their responsibilities as far as where they need to be located to get the 120 off the trailer. Once again, this is Mortar, where it's a little bit staged based off our safety fan. Once again, the members of the squad getting the gun laid on FTC's firing command. Two-gun squad leader is setting in his gun based on the direction of fire or the azimuth that FTC in the second sergeant has pushed out to him. At the bottom of the screen, you can see the top of an aiming pole. This is for after they shoot that first round to immediately grab it and set in their 07 pull. So they're already pre-staging it and basically alleviating having to run back to the truck to grab the 07 pull. Squad leader is confirming his data with FTC. Gunner's just doing a quick once over on all the safety checks. You can see here, this is why we have safety checks. Squad leader is doing his job, ensuring that all of them are met, notices a deficiency, and having his squad readjust before firing the first round. Gunner's getting bubbles leveled. Squad leader's continuing to check the azimuth the gun's laid in on. And right now they're adjusting the elevation that's been pushed out in the fire command. Gunner's removing the sight before the first round. And first round goes, and you can see the AV run off quickly there before the video stopped. And immediately the sight's going to go back on, and the 07 pull is going to get laid. Going back with hip shoot occupations, the biggest friction point with the hip shoot occupations are, one, getting the direction of fire, and two, the terrain, being able to position the trucks, especially the trucks, so that way we can implement all four of our guns. An example for this being if you're traveling north on a road and our direction of fire is anywhere in the north and you've got woodline to your east and west where you can't push out the trucks, you're going to basically only be able to shoot with one gun. And so that's why it is imperative for the section sergeant, platoon sergeant, PL to have almost pre-plotted areas that they have in their movements for hip shoot contingencies.